Doing a dopamine detox is trending online. Hey, delete your apps, cut the stimulation, wake up at 5 a.m., cold shower, no phone. And if you still feel restless or anxious, you assume you lack discipline because it's always your fault. But you probably don't. You may just lack emotional tolerance. In this video, I'm going to explain why productivity hacks don't fix discomfort, what emotional tolerance actually is, and how to build it. Hey everyone, Dr. Greg here, and in this video, we're going to be talking about why you need emotional tolerance. So first, let's separate two things: stimulation versus discomfort. So what is it that you're actually avoiding at first? Because people will think, okay, I just need to cut everything off and I'm going to feel better immediately. Well, the issue is that's not how the brain works. When you think about the reward centers in the brain, those dopamine hits that we like to get them pretty regularly because they feel good. But what happens if you get them too much? Well, the brain is going to start to associate that intense influx of dopamine as the baseline. And if that's your baseline, then of course the only way to go up and to feel that same high is to get even more dopamine. And you're going to have to keep increasing the amount that you get. Now think about this. We have these lovely little devices in our pockets. They call it the feed for a reason, right? It just continues to feed you over and over and over. There is no end to the scroll. It just keeps going. So we've trained our brains that we just have to keep scrolling. What have you taught the brain? I just need to keep engaging with this very intense, very rewarding content so that I can get that dopamine rush. Ultimately, over time, you're desensitizing your brain. And so if you just take away all of those videos and all of that stimulation, what's going to happen at first? Well, your brain's going to be wondering where the heck that stimulation is because it's so used to it. And if you don't have it right in front of you, you might start to feel a little bit worse. You sort of have to reset all of the neurons in your brain, those dopamine receptors, so that they're not constantly getting fed all of these intense chemical reactions. What can we do instead? And you can learn how to increase your emotional tolerance. This is very much related to emotion regulation, for those of you that are familiar with DBT, dialectical behavior therapy. So if you want to be someone who is able to kind of moderate those responses, that behavior related to grabbing the phone, we have to increase your emotional tolerance. If we want to actually be able to handle those emotions a bit better, we have to be able to sit with them and find a way to work through them rather than have those emotions guide us into behaviors that are going to get us into some kind of trouble, like scrolling for hours on end, like lashing out at somebody, like avoiding and isolating from others in our lives. And the reason why I promote this emotional tolerance is because it's actually going to save you a lot of emotional pain and frustration in the future. So if you are someone who wants to change, even if it's just for a few minutes a day, your relationship with technology, how you interact with technology, here is a very simple technique that you can do to help you get through that emotional discomfort. First step, I want you to be able to identify when you're feeling uncomfortable. Now, this isn't always the case, but it tends to happen when we mindlessly just reach for the phone. As soon as we go for that, I'd like you to pause, stop what you're doing, freeze, and check in with yourself. What am I feeling right now? And then once you're able to identify that emotion, what am I thinking to myself in this moment right now? Once you identify that this is the situation that you're in, I want you to sit with that discomfort for 60 seconds, 1 whole minute. And I want you to take stock of what's happening in your body. If you're nervous, you feel that in your gut a lot of times, right? If you're excited, you're gonna feel that in your chest, your heart's racing. Where's the emotion sitting for you in your body? What are some of those thoughts that are coming to your mind as you sit with the discomfort? I want you to also track any waves as they come throughout that minute, right? Because emotions aren't just flat. There's going to be peaks and valleys. Take a minute and track where you're peaking and then track where you're in the valley. What maybe calmed you down a little bit? Was there a particular thought? Was there just a length of time, right? Because over time, when we sit with the discomfort, it's going to start to get easier. So just take a moment and practice with this particular situation, focused on this present moment. The idea here is we want to stretch and train your capacity. How do you know that you've done this well? Well, the first thing that you can take a look at is, did you reach for your phone? Were you mindlessly scrolling when you were doing this activity? Did you interrupt that automatic process that usually happens for you? If you did that, you delayed it by a minute, guess what? You did it.
Congratulations.
sir.
Good.
you, sir.
Successful person.
Thank you, sir.
Good.
So you don't really need to become less distracted. You may need to become more emotionally capable, and that's the whole point of this emotional tolerance. If you want to build real tolerance instead of chasing trends, that's the kind of work that I do with my clients in therapy, not by hacking your brain, but by strengthening your capacity to feel. And if you enjoyed this particular intervention, I have a longer one that you can do as well. So in the description, click the link and it'll take you to the Autopilot Interrupt Protocol, which is something that you can do multiple times throughout the day to help improve and increase your emotional tolerance and your emotional capacity. So check that out today.